Hello everybody and welcome to session 1 of Instructional Multimedia Design Fall 2016. So we're going to head on into the content and try to find this module. Okay, so session 1, graphics. We've got 3 items in here, so you want to make sure you kind of do and read and experience everything on every page. My session modules are usually made in a linear order, so it's better to do the first things first, kind of near the beginning, and then the last things on the list near the end. That's not always the case, but often that is the case. All right, so you have a checklist that you can use to make sure that you're doing what you want to be doing this session so that you're successful. You can check those items off, and Courston will save your progress so that when you come back in 5 days and you've forgotten everything about what you've done so far, you can quickly take a look here and it'll tell you, help keep you on track. All right, so let's see if I'm looking at just the welcome page. The welcome page will always have a video where I walk you through. The video really doesn't add any crucial must-know information. All crucial must-know information, this is just me talking to you about a design consideration for online learning. Everything that people need to be successful is actually written in text. So anything that you get out of the video that isn't written in text, well, that's just extra stuff. Whether it helps you to see my voice or see that I've got a creeper head in the background and maybe that makes you like me more, or whatever it is that video does. I also might give you tips or suggestions for, doing things, but again, I don't consider those crucial to success. So that's a design thing. The videos are what I would actually call decorative. Technically speaking, you could do the class without them and be just fine. But if they give you that extra push, great. Let's go take a quick look at the course plan so we can see what we're doing and when this session. So we're looking at a 2-week session, session 1, graphics. It ends on the day before Labor Day, so on September 4th, on a Sunday. It's got quite a few items in it. Those are going to be due on Sunday, September 4th at midnight. So you've got we've got 2 discussion boards. So we've got one where you're kind of thinking a little bit more about multimedia, the kinds of things that you want to be building. You've talked a little bit about that in the first intro discussion. You're going to talk a little bit more about that here, about your needs and where you're headed and that kind of thing. That will come in handy, these initial kind of conversations about multimedia and where you stand in relation to it will come back in handy in this reflection activity at the end. I hope that you'll see that you were able to have some growth this semester, and the class is designed in an open kind of way to where you could have no experience with multimedia or you could have a lot. I know we have people on both ends of the spectrum already based on the introductory discussion board posts I've read, but it's really, you are adult learners, and you're here in this class for a reason, hopefully not just the reason of getting a pay bump in your school district, for example, but also to actually learn something and to grow your skills. So the class is designed with the assumption that you're here to grow your skills, take yourself from the level you're at right now and push yourself. So this semester, I hope that whatever project we do, you can take a look at that project and think, okay, here's what I know how to do. So here's how I can build on my skills with this particular project. Okay. All right, so in session 1, we do have that discussion. You want to make sure that you pay attention to the instructions about how many response posts you need to do. In my classes, it's usually 2 responses, but I know in this class, I think that I deviate from that sometimes. And I may just ask you for 1. So just make sure you always read in the instructions and figure out how many responses am I supposed to do in the discussion. It's usually not enough to just do an initial post. An initial post is usually the most important thing in my class, but the responses are also important. You'll be having a project where you're going to make a graphic. You're going to be making a personal logo or professional logo perhaps, and you're going to share that on this discussion board. It's not really, this is less of a discussion and more of just a quick like sharing and peer feedback board. And then you're also going to be setting up your multimedia design journal in this session. All right, let's take another, so let's go to the next page and the final page of this session. So here you can access that discussion board. Oh wait, I don't want to go in there because I don't want to see student names of people that have already posted. You're going to be reading 4 chapters of the Clark and Mayer textbook. If you see any references to Evers and Barron, just disregard those. That was a textbook for my previous semester teaching the class. I realized it was not a beneficial book, so we got rid of it. I want you to set up your multimedia design journal. Hopefully these instructions will work to guide you. Okay, yes. So check that out. And you're going to be submitting it not to a Dropbox, but to a Google form. Let me check that, see if that works. Yes, it does. So you put your name here and then the link to your journal there. And then you're going to be doing the graphic project. You do read the instructions here, you drop them here. I'll come back to that in just a second. Here's the peer feedback board. Actually, maybe I shouldn't go in there either. There might be a student posting already. And then this is every session I'll remind you about your multimedia design journal. It's a project you do throughout the class as you read the Clark and Mayer multimedia technology book. You will be making posts in this journal, and then you're going to turn it in finally near the end of the semester. And I just kind of remind you about the chapters that I think that you should be working on in an ongoing fashion across the semester. Let's see. Okay, so quickly looking at the graphic assignment. You're going to be developing a graphical artifact using a digital tool like Paint, Paint.net, PowerPoint, the GIMP, Inkscape, Illustrator, or some other program for creating and manipulating images. There's 10 others that I didn't list there. A lot of image programs that do cost money, but there are some free ones like the GIMP and Inkscape are both free. Those really cover the gamut of a lot of the kind of graphic stuff you want to do, but they are very deep, challenging programs. So you don't have to use those. You can use a native program to your computer. You can use an outside Web 2.0 tool. That's up to you what you want to do. You're going to be working towards building your personal brand, and I want you to create a logo for your personal brand as a professional. And the cool thing is that you can use this on other artifacts that you make later in the semester. So once you've created this, then this can show up on other things that you create. I've got some useful articles for you. A little reminder about copyright and fair use. We really don't want to use a lot of other people's stuff. When possible, it's best to create your own stuff. So that's your opportunity here today, is to actually create something of your own. Though you can, with fair use, use some other things that you find, other assets on the web. So be sure you're reading about that. Ignore this right here. This is due at the end of session 1. All right. See, that's the great thing about doing your instructions in a Google Doc. I can quickly revise something. All right. So in addition to submitting this to the Dropbox, you will need to give you're going to need to share this and give peer feedback to one peer before the session is over. At least one peer. You need to double check though. When you go on that board, it'll tell you how many. All right, so that's session 1. Let me know how I can help, what questions you may have. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with on your graphic. All right, thank you so much.